Hey folks, Caliph here. Now, I love a good story, but some stories, they don't quite end, they just stop. Today we're diving headfirst into some of the most unsettling dead ends in American history. We're counting down the top 10 creepiest abandoned towns in the USA. These aren't just empty streets and crumbling buildings, these are places where the past is so heavy, you can almost feel it breathing down your neck. Places where prosperity turned to dust, and the only residents left are the echoes of what once was. So, buckle up, because we're about to take a road trip to some seriously spooky spots. Each town on our list is a time capsule, sealed with a layer of dust and a whole lot of questions. Why did everyone leave? What secrets were buried when the last resident packed up and drove away? Some of these places are famous for their chilling histories, tales of disaster, misfortune, and of course ghosts. We're talking about entire communities swallowed by the earth, frozen in time, or simply left to rot in the middle of nowhere. It's a journey into the heart of the American dream, or maybe the American nightmare. Are these towns just forgotten relics, or are they something more? We'll be exploring everything from a town that's literally on fire from below to gold rush boom towns, where the spirits of miners are said to still wander the dusty streets. I'll be digging into the history, the legends, and the downright bizarre phenomena reported in these locations. The question is, what really happens when a town dies? Does its spirit linger? We're about to find out. Now, whether you believe in ghosts or not, the sheer desolation of these places is enough to send a shiver down your spine. Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a town that's less of a ghost town and more of a slow-motion apocalypse. Welcome to Centralia, Pennsylvania. Imagine your hometown, but it's on fire. Not the buildings, but the very ground beneath your feet. Since 1962, an underground coal mine fire has been raging beneath Centralia, turning it into a real-life Silent Hill. The ground is unstable, poisonous gases like carbon monoxide seep up through cracks in the earth, and the roads buckle and split from the subterranean heat. It's a place where the concept of solid ground is, frankly, a bit of a joke. The government eventually condemned the town and relocated almost everyone. But the fire? It's still going. And it's expected to burn for another 250 years. Wild. What's left is a grid of empty streets, a few stubborn holdouts, and an atmosphere that's just wrong. The infamous Graffiti Highway, a stretch of the abandoned Route 61, was a bizarre, colorful scar on the landscape until it was recently buried. But the eerie vibe remains. You can still see steam and smoke venting from the ground on a cold day. It's a stark, terrifying reminder of the unstoppable force smoldering just below the surface. People talk about the loneliness, the quiet hiss of the vents, and the feeling of being in a place that nature is actively trying to erase. It's not haunted by ghosts in the traditional sense, but by the ghost of a community, consumed by a fire that will outlive us all. Coming in at number 9, we head west to the high desert of California, to a place that looks like the set of a classic western, except it's all real. This is Bodie. In the late 1800s, Bodie was a booming gold rush town, home to nearly 10,000 people. It had the reputation of being one of the most lawless and violent towns in the Old West. Saloons, gunfights, the whole 9 yards. But like so many boom towns, the gold eventually ran dry and the people just left. They didn't even pack up everything, they just walked away, leaving their homes and belongings behind as if they planned on coming right back. Today, Bodie is a state historic park, preserved in a state of arrested decay. That means nothing is restored, it's just maintained as it was found. You can peer into windows and see tables still set for dinner, goods still on the shelves of the general store. It's incredibly preserved and incredibly creepy. But the real chill here comes from the legends. They say there's a curse on Bodie. The story goes that any visitor who takes anything, even a rock or a nail, will be plagued by bad luck until the item is returned. The park rangers have a whole collection of letters from people who took souvenirs and wrote back, begging for the curse to be lifted after suffering misfortune. Spooky. For our number 8 spot, we're staying out west and heading into the blistering heat of the Nevada desert, just outside Death Valley. Here we find the skeletal remains of Rhyolite. This town shot up like a rocket in the early 1900s during a short-lived gold rush. For a few years it was the place to be, with a stock exchange, an opera house, and even a symphony. They built grand, concrete buildings, thinking the prosperity would last forever. Spoiler alert, it did not. The financial panic of 1907 hit hard. The mines started to fail, and by 1920, Rhyolite was almost completely empty. A true flash in the pan. What's left today are the ghostly shells of those ambitious buildings crumbling under the relentless desert sun. The most famous ruin is the Cook Bank building, a 3-story skeleton that stands as a monument to broken dreams. There's also a house made entirely of glass bottles, which is a choice. But it's the sheer emptiness of the place that gets you. It's so quiet you can hear the wind whistling through the empty window frames. Local legends speak of a ghost named Mona Bell, whose tragic story is tied to the town's decline. People claim to hear her cries carried on the desert wind. It's a place that perfectly captures the boom and bust cycle of the Old West, leaving behind only dust and perhaps a few restless spirits. Alright, for number 7, we're going way off the grid. To the remote, rugged wilderness of Alaska, to the abandoned mining town of Kennecott. Nestled in the heart of the Wrangell-St. Elias National Park, this place is not easy to get to. For nearly 30 years, from 1911 to 1938, this was the site of one of the world's richest copper deposits. A massive 14-story mill building painted a stark red still clings to the side of the mountain. It was a company town built and run by the Kennecott Copper Corporation. When the copper ran out, the company shut it all down and the last train rolled out of town, leaving everything behind. The isolation here is profound. The massive, silent mill is like a giant red tombstone overlooking the glacier. It's a chilling monument to industrial might, now being reclaimed by the harsh Alaskan wilderness. The sheer scale of the operation, abandoned in the middle of nowhere, is mind-boggling. People who visit or work on its preservation report an unsettling feeling, especially inside the old mill and the hospital. They've heard disembodied voices, footsteps on empty staircases, and the ghostly clang of machinery. Is it just the wind playing tricks in the vast, empty buildings? Or is it the spirits of the miners who lived and died in this incredibly remote and dangerous place? You tell me. Halfway through our list, at number 6, we travel down south to the spectral fields of Cahawba, Alabama. This isn't your typical ghost town. This was once the state capital of Alabama. From 1820 to 1826, Cahawba was a bustling political and commercial center, built at the confluence of the Cahawba and Alabama rivers. The problem? Location, location, location. The town was prone to massive flooding. After a particularly devastating flood in 1825, the state legislature decided to, move the capital to a slightly less aquatic location. The town never fully recovered and was finally abandoned after the Civil War. Today, Cahawba is an archaeological park. The streets are still there, but many of the buildings are gone, their foundations reclaimed by nature. It's known as Alabama's most famous ghost town, and for good reason. The most famous legend is the ghostly orb in the garden maze of the Kirkpatrick Mansion. Before the Civil War, a young boy died while playing hide-and-seek in the maze. After the war, a Confederate soldier known as C.C. Peggs was supposedly captured and killed there. Visitors have captured photographic anomalies, a strange ball of light, in that exact spot. They call it Peggs's ghost. It's a place where history, tragedy, and folklore have seeped into the very soil. Cracking our top 5, we find ourselves in the deep gorges of West Virginia, at number 5, the town of Thurmond. During the heyday of coal and steam, Thurmond was a thriving, raucous railroad town. It was so busy that the C&O Railroad Depot handled more freight than Cincinnati and Richmond combined. The town was also famous for having the longest-running poker game in history, supposedly lasting for 14 years. But as diesel replaced steam and the coal industry declined, the trains stopped stopping. The town's pulse faded, and today it's almost completely silent. The National Park Service has preserved the main commercial row and the depot, making it feel like a town holding its breath. With a year-round population you can count on one hand, the silence is deafening. The empty depot, the vacant banks, and the silent storefronts feel haunted by the hustle and bustle that once filled them. It's said that on quiet nights you can still hear the phantom sounds of a steam engine chugging down the tracks, or the distant echo of laughter and music from the saloons that have long since closed their doors. It's a town that died not from disaster, but from simply being passed by, left to listen for a train that will never arrive. At number 4, We're heading back to Big Sky Country, to Garnet, Montana, one of the best preserved ghost towns in the state. Tucked away in the Garnet mountain range, this was another gold mining town that flourished in the late 1890s. It had 4 stores, 4 hotels, a school, a doctor's office, and, get this, 13 saloons. 13. Clearly they had their priorities straight. But a fire in 1912 destroyed half the town, and with the gold becoming scarcer, most residents moved on, leaving Garnet to the mercy of the harsh Montana winters. What makes Garnet so compelling, and honestly so creepy, is how intact it is. You can walk into the old J.R. Wells Hotel or one of the saloons and almost expect a bartender to appear. It's this level of preservation that really fuels the ghost stories. Visitors and caretakers have reported hearing ghostly piano music coming from Kelly's saloon in the dead of winter when the town is snowed in and completely inaccessible. Others have seen shadowy figures in the windows of the hotel and heard the sounds of children laughing near the old schoolhouse. It feels less like a ruin and more like a town where the residents are just invisible. Entering our top 3, we climb high into the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to find St. Elmo. This is often cited as one of Colorado's most original and well-preserved ghost towns. It was a gold and silver mining hub in the 1880s, boasting a telegraph office, a general store, and of course a bunch of saloons and dance halls. The town's fate was sealed when the railroad service was discontinued in 1922. The story goes that the residents were so heartbroken they all took the last train out of town and never came back, just like that. St. Elmo is famous for its paranormal activity, most of which centers around one specific ghost, Annabelle Stark. Annabelle, or Dirty Annie as she was sometimes known, was part of the Stark family that ran the general store and hotel. She never left St. Elmo, even after it was abandoned, and lived there until her death in 1960. People say her spirit still watches over the town. Visitors report seeing her ghostly figure looking out the windows of the old hotel. Some have even claimed the door to the general store, her former home, will unlock and open on its own. It's a town with a dedicated spectral caretaker, making it one of the most personal and unsettling ghost towns you can visit. At number 2, we have Elkmont, Tennessee. Tucked away in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Elkmont wasn't a mining town but a private resort community for wealthy vacationers from Knoxville. It was a place of leisure, with a grand hotel and dozens of rustic cabins. In the 1930s, the land was incorporated into the new national park, but the cabin owners were given lifetime leases. As the last of these leaseholders passed away or moved on in the 1990s and early 2000s, the town was slowly abandoned to the forest. Walking through what's left of Elkmont is a surreal experience. The woods are slowly swallowing the dilapidated cabins, creating a hauntingly beautiful and deeply unsettling scene. The most famous part was the Daisytown section and the abandoned Wonderland Hotel, which sadly burned down in 2016. But many of the cabins remain, their porches sagging and their windows like vacant eyes. There isn't one big legend here, but a pervasive sense of melancholy and mystery. Why were these holiday homes left to rot in such a bizarre, piecemeal way? It feels like the site of a forgotten party, where the guests all vanished at once, leaving the forest to reclaim its territory. The number 1 creepiest abandoned town in the USA. For this, we return to Montana, to a place with a history so dark and violent, it's no wonder the spirits are said to be restless. Welcome to Bannack. Founded in 1862 after a major gold strike, Bannack became the first territorial capital of Montana. But it was also a lawless, dangerous place. Its first sheriff, Henry Plummer, was secretly the leader of a ruthless gang of road agents called the Innocents, who were responsible for over 100 murders. Eventually the citizens had enough, formed a vigilante group, and hanged Plummer and his gang from the very gallows he had built. Today, Bannack is a state park, with over 60 structures still standing, many of which you can explore. And it is widely considered one of the most haunted places in the entire country. The sheer volume of paranormal claims is staggering. The Mead Hotel is a hotbed of activity, with reports of a ghostly woman, a former guest who drowned, appearing in a second-floor window. Cries of a baby are often heard in the hotel, though no one knows why. People feel unseen hands grabbing them, hear disembodied voices in the saloon, and see the ghostly apparitions of children running through the town. With a foundation of vigilante justice and bloody murder, Bannack isn't just a ghost town, It's a town built on ghosts. And that's our tour of America's most unsettling abandoned towns. From the eternal fire beneath Centralia to the vigilante ghosts of Bannack, these places are more than just historical footnotes. They are open wounds on the landscape, reminders that nothing, not wealth, not power, not community, is permanent. They are monuments to ambition and failure, to life, and to the silence that follows. The history is fascinating, the legends are chilling, but the feeling of standing in a place that has been utterly left behind, that's something that stays with you. It's a powerful and frankly spooky experience. So now I have to ask you guys, would you dare to spend a night in any of these towns? Which one on this list gives you the most chills? Is it the thought of the ground being on fire, or the ghost of a corrupt sheriff still lingering by his gallows? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I read all of them, especially the ones that propose equally terrifying places for me to check out next. And if you have your own local ghost town story, I definitely want to hear about it. Maybe your hometown has a secret it's not telling. If you enjoyed this journey into the quietest, creepiest corners of the country, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out, and if you want to make sure you don't miss our next exploration into the weird and the mysterious, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. We've got a lot more strange stories to uncover, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe check under your feet for smoke.